Okay, when we say Myakka, like I'm sure you all probably get the Myakka Living magazine, and which is done by the nonprofits that handle these two facilities here. And it always includes a lot about old Myakka, which is Sarasota County. And they're having a heck of a time. Alice, what's her name? I can't remember the name, but she's been very active. You'll see the signs along Fruitville and all. It says, keep the country, country. Um, they're losing out over there on Fruitville too, and that affects us. So that was how I got into this. For 3 glorious weeks, I was the only Republican candidate. And what fun would there have been in that, right? But we made it through the primary, and uh, I was one of the. I was the only candidate who was running against a Democrat and an NPA. So you guys did it, and I'm I'm very grateful. Um, I'm doing my best, but we have a lot of work to do. And the most important thing to me, my focus, and I think you'll all agree with what are the most important things in District 1. Probably the most important thing we're concerned in District 1 is development. So that's kind of my baby. And I've been they've tried to get me through Land Use 101.
You still haven't?
Nah, because every time they take me through the process, I ask too many questions. Okay, I explain to them, I'm not an engineer. Okay, I'm not even a college graduate. All I am is a Floridian. And a lot of things that I know, I can't tell you why I know them. They're just stupid stuff, okay? You know, a hurricane's coming if the ants are crawling up the wall. We all got that? I have no scientific basis for this whatsoever at all, but my grandma told me that, and she was always right. So I'm getting into this unknown area here, but I'm doing it from your point of view. And that I know I could do pretty good. So the first thing we want to talk about is District 1 probably gets more look at the agendas. How many of you read the agendas? How many of you know how to read the agendas? Oh, come on, you know you do. You don't?
I get it.
You get it, okay. So this is very important because this is your tax dollars at work. This is what do we do? So one of the things that I was doing during my campaign, everybody knows my shtick during the campaign, I would say, where y'all from? Because I knew you probably were from here, right? Because we have so many new people coming in, not so much in Myakka. And I find some of my best work in the county is riding up in the elevator, the one with the padded cell on it. It's a cargo elevator, but it's really comfy because you can knock your head against the wall. It doesn't hurt. And I'm going up the elevator with people. They got their, Manatee County tag on, and I forget sometimes that I label myself. And I said, "What do you do?" Rob, what do you do?
I am a business services manager.
There you go. Ask Rob if he does. I heard of business manager.
Business services manager.
Got that?
So what that means is I translate technology into business use for the county.
Okay.
Like,
So now, what we have here is we're working on, there's a couple of things, you know what the big four things are that we're working on. And I will say that this board has made a lot of progress in just 3 months, okay? What do we got? We're repealing the wetlands. Remember the wetlands decision, right? Okay, well, we got that on the repeal. We've got there you are. This is Kelly. Kelly is, she's here as a citizen today, but when she jumps into a phone booth, she then becomes super aide. She's from Broadway Booth.
So,
These people go the way of my heart. So Kelly is the aide for Jason Bearden. And, all right, now you just got me off track with it. Anyway, so what we're trying to do is this. We've got a couple of good things coming. We've been doing some good things. We got our wetlands decision repealed. Long process. Who could tell me about the 2.1.2.8 amendment? You. No. Wait a minute, this is the one that gets the door prize. Oh, no, no, that would be cheap. You want to do it? Tell them.
Well, give me the.
2.1.2.8 means.
What?
The 2.1.2.8.
Okay, that revoked the FDAM, which was the development. There was a line, and east of that, there wasn't supposed to be any development. So that.
Now show it. Okay, so the FDAP. We're gonna talk a lot in acronyms now. We've got a dictionary in case we get. Here's your FDAP. It's that purple line, the big purple line. So basically what that means is on this side of the purple line, we're going to provide you with county water and sewer. This side of the purple line, we are not going to provide you with county water and sewer. You get a well, you get a septic tank. However, the 2.1.2.8 amendment said that if your land is, I love these words, continuous and contiguous to another piece on this side, that we're going to do that for you too. Now, how are we going to do that? It takes money. Where do we get the money to put the water and sewer in on the other side of the FTAP? So we were able to repeal that well, we are working on the repeal of the 2.1.2.8 amendment. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be stuff built over here, because some things are already going to slip in, be grandfathered in, or whatever. But we still are going to have a problem with how are we going to pay for it, and how are we going to do it. So we're trying to give you guys tools. So we've got our wetlands and 2.1.2.8 impact fees. Our impact fees, we have not collected our impact fees at a full 100%. We kind of got into this thing about in 2008 when we had the mortgage and housing crisis and everything. And they wanted to do everything they could to keep the housing industry afloat. So the three pillars of industry, or the three economic pillars in Manatee County, what's number one? What? Tourism.
What's the agriculture?
Agriculture is number one, which includes phosphate mining. Number two is tourism, and number three is new construction. So during the 2008 housing issues and all that, everybody kind of tamped down on their impact fees and streamlined a lot of the processes to bolster that industry, and we never really came fully out of it, okay? And now we're kind of paying for that. So we got our wetlands for 2.1.8, our impact fees, and, mandatory neighborhood meetings that we're working on, and our comp plan and land development code. And when we say our comp plan, that's kind of like a conceptual idea of where we want to see our county grow and develop in the next century or so. We have not reviewed our comp plan for about, I think we're about 30 years now, but we've been doing it piecemeal, adjusting things as we go along. We have some more chairs. Benola, can we get the chairs out of the cabinet for us? And so those are the big four things, and our comp plan in its entirety, and our land development code. So think of the comp plan as the concept of how we want our county to grow and develop and prosper. The LDC are those little rules and regulations that give us that feature. So what we're trying to put my focus is not just land use in District 1, but to get everyone involved so they know how this works, so that you have a voice in how your communities are formed and how you are governed. Now, like I said, during my campaign, I'm asking people, where are they from? How long have you lived here? What district are you in? And who's your county commissioner? How many people do you think knew what district they lived in and who their county commissioner was? I'd say 1 out of maybe 7 or 8.
Oh, I think that's lower than that.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's to be understood because we did the redistricting, but the average length of residency in parish is between 3 to 5 years. And that's not a lot of time to get to know a place. And you're still picking out your curtains for your house, you're getting your kids enrolled and things like that. And I think that's where things kind of got away with us. So my focus has been not just in that land use issues and how does that all happen, and that and the detail. The devil is in the detail on everything, just like these mandatory neighborhood meetings. How many of you have ever gone to a meeting regarding a rezoning? This side of the room? Yeah. Okay, so we, in Sarasota County, if you're gonna do a rezone, it is mandatory that you have a neighborhood meeting. And we've had some really good ones. When Soleto Golf Course was being proposed, they came out to the church and had a picture, you know, and really kind of wanted to work with the community. And I think that's a thing that, you have private property rights, you might have some great ideas for a great thing for your community, but really having your community behind you is what's going to make you a success. So we want to encourage that. So that was something that's been proposed, and also bigger signs. Our little yellow signs that are my nemesis with the QR code on them, because we're all going to stop on the side of 70, jump out, and swipe with our phones in an area where we don't even have the cell phone coverage, right? So the signs now that we've got are like this big. Okay, they're still in the bureaucratic process of getting out there. But we do have the big signs. We have the big signs. The ones for the neighborhood meetings are just as big as the ones for the public hearing notices. So we think we're going to get there with that. So now it comes to where you guys have to do your part to take the tools that we're developing for you and use those. So most of the questions that I get from people is, what are they building over there? Why are they bulldozing down that? Okay, how do I do this, that, or the other? And District 1 gets more traffic than any other district because we've got more going on. If you look at the agenda, I think we've got 5 final plats of District 1 coming up for the vote, which, well, we all know how that's going to go. And if you look at any of the agendas, half the issues are in District 1 because there's a lot going on here. So we want to give you tools to start using your tools. And if you guys could start doing your job, it will help me to do my job. So help me, help you, help me, help you. Okay? So we're going to talk about some things. Number one is we are getting a new website in November of last year. Would you believe January of this year? Would you believe March? March is the date. How many of you visit our county website? Good, good, good. So from what they tell me, they have been, you could voluntarily ask to be monitored while you're using the county website. So they've been able to gather data on what do people use, how do they use it, where do they go, what kind of information they want. So I expect for March for us to have a new county website.
That's today.
Oh, well, it's Saturday. So the second thing is that so we're going to have this revamped county website. The other thing that I asked for and I got was, I didn't particularly want a county commissioner social media presence, because I would like for us to create. How many of you use the county Facebook page? Next door, Twitter, what's the other one? Instagram. Right. So I wanted to have a District 1 page because we have so much territory to cover, so much activity to cover, and we're really not that prone to going to GT Bray, are we? Or the beach?
No.
Yeah. So I'm trying to glean and get out the pertinent information to District 1 so we have more of a focus, so we can have a calendar for District 1. Because if we put all of the public hearing notices and things like that on the county calendar, most of them will only pertain to District 1. So we're trying to get our own little calendar out. How many of you went to the Lakewood Ranch Neighborhood Summit last year? Of course, Kildare. Anybody go to Lakewood Ranch Neighborhood Summit last year? Anybody go to All Things Parish last year? Okay, you too. But how many of you, go ahead and do it again. How many of you went through the Citizens Academy that they offered last year? Go ahead, Kelly. Yeah. Okay, what are those things? When I say Neighborhood Summit, what do you think about? Apparently, that was theirs. All Things Parish was actually kind of interesting because they had the different departments talk about what they did and, what they had accomplished or whatever. So there will be another neighborhood summit March 28th. It'll be at One Haven Boulevard. Y'all planning on going?
What's going on it? Why should anybody here go?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I heard it's going to be great. And that's what I'm here for, make sure it's going to be great. So the one tool we're going to talk about today is everybody has your phones or whatever with you, right? So what we're going to do, and I'm going to call some people from the audience to do it because you guys have dug into this much longer than I have. Okay, so what do we have here? This is our map of our county. You can see where, I'm gonna, when you want to go up there and just get me the district lines so that we can show that. I think we just have to get those district lines. So as you can see, our district for District 1 is, I think if we do this, yeah, see this blue line here? That's our where is it? I tapped it on the bottom line.
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes down. It's easy to remember if it's the Sarasota County line, Hardy County line, DeSoto County line, Hillsborough County line, and then this squiggly line that comes up like this. Okay, for District 1. So that covers a lot of area over here. It's divided by the future development area boundary. All of these little red squares in here, okay, what do those mean? That's what pending development. Now, you can see the difference between District 5 and, of course, our inland areas because they don't have as much space, right? So we've got a lot going in over there. This would be, my bearings. So here's 675 here. This is going to be you're familiar with East River Ranch that's coming in. And we could go out here to your Shaletta golf course, Old Myakka golf course, and things like that. So what a lot of people ask me is, what's going in over there? What, all the information. If you go to our county website and you go to these maps, and I'll have somebody demonstrate right from the beginning. But let's take a development. Let's find. What do you want to do? You want to do the fish camp one? Okay. So what do we call? Well, okay. So let's talk a little bit about the land development process. Basically, people have to put in an application to do whatever it is they want to do. And once that application is reviewed and it said, okay, we'll consider you letting you do this, that assigns your project what they call a PLN number. Unfortunately, our current website doesn't allow you to search by a PLN number. Hopefully we'll have some improvements on that, but you can do a lot of searches on your map this way. You can do it with an address. Will it come up just by the name? Let's try it.
Yeah,
Does anybody know the name of the development we're talking about? That's it.
I'm trying to do it on my phone.
Okay. And the reason we got the big screen is it's really hard to see sometimes on your phones or anything like that. It's P-O-M, P-O-M, P-L-L-O. P-O, P-O-M.
Oh. Sorry. I think it's just P-O-M-E or.
Not with the corporate.
Okay. There you go.
All right. So as you can tell where this property is, okay, we're right here on 675. This would be the fish camp. Let's see. Fish camp would be right.
Right.
Yeah, right over there. and you see that it's all in the red. So when you go and you look at this, it's telling you they've given it a name, but it's also got a PLN number. I'm going to let you get up there. I'm going to let you get up there and do it so I can see it while I'm talking. Oh, what? Go back to that. So what you can do is if you're out driving, you see a little yellow sign, you see a bulldozer, you see some clear cutting going on, you see a mound of dirt with it flowing all over the road. You see water being pumped off from one place to another, and you want to know what is this? You can come to your map, kind of get your whereabouts there, and pull into that. Are we going to get the card? Show the card. Okay, so with everything connected with that piece of property, you have basic information on that. A lot of that's going to come from your property appraiser's records. It's going to give you what the current zoning is, what the future land use is. It'll tell you what district it is, what county commissioner and all this. Here's your PLN number up here, and that's a good way to start tracking things. And this tells us that a description of their work. And this is a large-scale comprehensive map amendment from land use category agricultural rural, which is AGR, to urban fringe 3, which is called UF3, for 1,203 acres. Somebody didn't mention anything. Okay, application complies with policy 2.1.2.8 of the comprehensive plan.
That's cool, it complies now, so if that were to change, would it still comply because it was grandfathered?
Well, once this goes through the original application and it's signed a PLN number, it starts going through the review process. They have lots of plans to submit and all that kind of stuff. Well, then the next thing that would happen is if the county feels that it's a contentious issue or needs further discussion with the community, they can request that they hold a neighborhood meeting where you can get a lot more information on it. That we're hoping to get more mandatory than suggested. And we're hoping to get to that point. The next thing it will tell you is, now, Rob, would we have a space for the neighborhood meeting on here for your dates?
I'm not certain.
Because if we do mandatory neighborhood meetings, it probably should be included
For your future.
over there. Yeah. So if that happens, then I'm sure we'll have a space for this. But this will tell you when is this going to be up for the planning commission meeting, when is it going to be up for the land use meeting. And that's one way you can follow these projects along. So instead of asking me, what are they building next door, right? You have the tools to look that up for yourself. And also in these, they'll have, whoops, okay, give me back. A case manager. Case manager is, you make that case manager, if you want to follow that project, and you want to have a say-so in that project, and you want to be a good neighbor to the good neighbor that is wanting to do this, you make your best friend that case manager so you understand everything that's going on and that you don't miss a meeting. Now, in order to keep up with when these hearings are, you have right now, we have another thing that you would have to do, which is to request, you can either look for it on the county website, or you can sign up for public hearing notices. And that way, you get the information on that, not just on that particular thing. Yes,
You click the ACA deep link.
which one?
The deep link where it says more info.
Deep link.
That'll take you to the summer.
Thank you. So the Excel stuff is like the project management software, and that's where you're going to see a lot of your documents. Like if they're required to do a environmental report, you'll see that document in there. If we do the mandatory, normally if they do any kind of neighborhood meetings, they'll provide a summary of that in the Excel. We're trying to get them to draw out some of the information that the county staff kind of considers internal. But it's public record. I mean, you get it if you want. But I don't think that they realize how much we value those documents, and that would help us to keep up with things. So we're trying to make that more transparent to y'all. And this one, it's at return to applicant at this point.
What does that mean?
That means that whatever they submitted, they have to go back to the drawing board. It's not quite ready for prime time. Whatever they did was not quite ready to be presented to the planning commission yet. They may have to have like a hearing officers. There might be some facets of it that have to go through another process before it could go to the planning commission. Yesterday, Ken, when you attended the Development Services Task Force, who's ever heard, anybody know what the Development Service Task Force is? This is another facet of how we come to these things, okay? The Development Service, if you Google it on your county website, the Development Services Task Force is for any interested stakeholders. Are we all not interested stakeholders? And basically, this is like a work session think tank between staff, professionals, people who are interested stakeholders in development services.
How do you get into that?
You were in it with me one time, remember we busted their party? We did that before. Yes, you were in it with me. I've gotten in you into other things. You didn't even know you were there. Actually, what might confuse you is this group used to be called the Planning Task Force, and they changed the name to the Development Services Task Force. Doesn't that make you feel much warmer and fuzzier? So that's one thing that you can do. And these are online meetings. So just listening to how we come up with this stuff is very educational on its own. So let's go back to our main map and do the main one. And let's go to Pope Ranch. This is like having a representative.
Wheel of
Wheel of Fortune, yes.
You know what? Okay. I was thinking more like hurricanes coming.
Oh, yeah.
For the deputy election, right? Well, this.
We need to show them how to, we need the original map up with the overlays, so they know how to put on the overlays to get to where you're at on this map.
All right, we got Pope Ranch.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, got it? Okay, so Pope Ranch, where's my? Yeah, sorry. Cards. Card.
Maybe I'll hit the, just touch the black one.
Oh.
So Pope Ranch, anybody who's ever attended or listened to a planning commission meeting? Okay, this side of the room, stop raising your hand. One of the other things that we accomplished too was, if you go to the county has a lot of social media presence. They have a Facebook page, they have a website. I think they're on Instagram, Twitter, I don't know, Nextdoor. And one of the things that I looked at when I would go down to the meetings of Citizen Bureau was I would look on the county's social media pages, and they would have something about, I don't know, anything other than that meeting. And what was the most important thing going on in Manatee County that day? That meeting where your tax dollars are being spent. So we did get the county to agree to live stream. You could live stream the VOCC meetings through the website, but we said put it on your social media page, okay? And that should be the only thing on that social media page that day. Well, we had to get a little specific with them because then it was, oh, you meant the land use meetings too? Yeah. And the planning commission? Yeah. So you got to make sure you're extremely specific when you ask for something. So we have those on there. So there's no excuse. You've got every way in the world. And some of them, I have to admit that we're not as entertaining and dramatic as last board's commission meetings. We're kind of all in our kumbaya stage right now. But every once in a while, we have some moments.
Honeymoon phase.
Yeah, we're in the honeymoon phase, yes. But, we all really are getting along quite well. And, I mean, there's more to come. So let's look what happened at Pope Ranch. It's a little bit different. Now, this one says application status report sent to acronym CAO.
Wait, on the former sheet.
Your cheat sheet. I think it's the county attorney's office, right. So that means because they had a planning commission meeting. Where was their planning? See, their planning commission meeting was 3/13/2005, 2025. So, what do you want?
The plan is.
It's scheduled.
3/13 is scheduled, but they had a meeting because they.
No, right, that's the second planning commission meeting. Because at the first planning commission meeting, they didn't approve, they didn't disapprove, they allowed for a continuance. Now, the other day at the Development Services Task Force meeting, they were talking about, Ken, do you remember this part, that they were talking about how many times you could be turned down, how many times you could come back up. Like, let's say if you apply for something and the county staff says, I'm not sure this is gonna fly, go back to the drawing board, come back. How many times you could do that before you have to start all the way over again? Because according to state law, we have so many days that we are required to process an application. Otherwise, it's automatically approved. Isn't that the most brilliant thing you could ever think of? But thank your state representatives for that. So they have to process it. So they can come back time and time again and, work on the program. You need to tweak this. You need more green space. I want more density, blah, 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 blah. But for only so many times that you can come back doing that, keeping that application open. So they're trying to work on a more finite time frame. So we could be within that 180 days or whatever, but you don't just keep going on forever and ever. So in this case with Pope Branch, they were given a continuance by the Planning Commission. So they'll come back around to the Planning Commission before they're ready to be presented to the Board of County Commissioners on that. Let's go back to the main one. So as you can see with our area in Myakka, we have all the red, we've got all the activity going on. There's a lot of things you could pull up with this map. I'm going to let it go back to the beginning, and you can work with some layers here. And anybody want to get up there and play with it yourself? Because I know you won't do this at home if I don't make you do it now. Becky? Come on, just ask the question and see if you can make it work. Because we're showing this off to Bob too, so if there's any problems, right?
That's bad.
Now would be a good time to show how to get there from the very get-go since I lost it.
Yes.
Is that okay, Commissioner Phelps? So to go to our website, the first thing you want to go to is just our website, Manatee. Okay, awesome.
No, start from sister notes.
.org space. Okay, here we go. Enter. So this is what our website looks like. Then you want to go onto government and GIS maps. There's actually a more direct way of doing this, right, Selena? Is GIS maps right on the homepage? Is it at the bottom?
No, it's in one of the top. No, go back.
Oh, okay. So just we're going to go down to
Government.
Okay.
You're on government.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah,
It's just that, it's right here. It's just clicking off for some reason. Scroll down, it should be on there. You can often get to it from the main screen under the little blocks, but then you have to scroll down to get the right one.
Okay, so we're going to go on to government and then see here where it says GIS maps. That's where you want to go. Once you're there,
Do you want to find your house there, Vicky?
Beg pardon?
You want to find your house?
Sure.
then we're going to click on the interactive maps, which is here. Everybody with me? Makes sense? And then we're going to go to land development, which is here. And then so which is
31350. Had
H.
T-A-T, yeah. OC.
And then these. Okay. So over here are the layers. So you want to find?
Yes.
You're familiar with this, huh?
Yeah, I've done it. Because I look for the flood maps. Yeah, so, yeah.
So layers. We're going to go to future development boundary, development projects, and then if you want to know what districts it's in, we're going to go political. And then we're going to wait for the Wi-Fi to catch up.
This is Peggy's house, it's off of, you're over by,
Play-Doh.
Clay Turnover.
Yeah.
Did you want to do something else, Commissioner?
Put the layers on.
They're working on it, but it's not, the internet's not catching
My
up.
internet is not responding.
Okay, we're going slow. So you know what? This is your homework. Go home. Try to get to those mapping systems. What we said in the parish, the parish town hall that I'd like to make sure y'all understand here. Make sure you use the right avenues to get your answers in an expeditious manner, okay? If it's an emergency, who do you call? No.
311.
911, okay? 911.
Actual emergency.
Okay, I have no bedside manner. If you're bleeding to death, you're going to die, okay? So 911 for that. Secondly, for information. Information. You want to report that your garbage hasn't been taken out, picked up. I would say you have a problem with your water bill, but
We're fixing that.
we're fixing that. And we don't have a problem with water bills out here because most of us are on wells.
And we're taking pictures of garbage pickup, so now we can prove that we were.
311, so 911, 311. If you want to make a comment that is included in the agenda and it pertains to an agenda item, submit it through the website because that makes sure that it is part of the public record for that agenda item. If you just want to throw something out there that you want under the future agenda items, do it through the county website. If you send an email to us as individual commissioners or collectively as the commissioners, that's not a guarantee that it's going to be in the public record for that meeting. We work very hard to get your call and comments back. How many of you ever called into a meeting? Okay, this side of the room just stopped. Okay. All right, right. But hey, we worked hard for that. If you don't use it, you lose it. And it doesn't take that much time, you know, tell your bosses you're doing your American thing and taking part if you have to call in for something. Read those agendas. Learn about what we're doing up there. They've made it very easy on the website, even if you want to look at the meeting from the next day and you go to an item on the agenda, the video will stop at that agenda item so you don't have to go all the way back and forth.
Why do you do that? Go on, I don't know how to do that.
Okay, well, I'm sure Selena will be glad to show you how.
I have a tutorial.
Oh, and that's right. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to tell you that Charlene does. She has a YouTube channel and a Facebook page called Manatee Local, where we were not getting what we wanted and needed from the county in terms of our education, information, involvement. So what's the great American way? We did ourselves. So if you go to Manatee Local, you will get your tutorials on how to use the current website, how to make a public comment. What else we got in there?
Yeah.
How to do call-in comments.
How to not screw up the call-in comment.
Well, like I said, we've gotten to the point where, and I don't really know what it is, guys, so that's why we need to hear from you up there. We don't know if you didn't realize that we got calling comments back, and maybe you just forgot about that, or maybe you have so much confidence in your new board that you're allowing us to operate unsupervised after that. But you really, so when we sit up there and we know the usual people that call in, Gleb Gibalina, 454, this one. I mean, we actually know your numbers by now, so we need to get some fresh blood up there to keep them popping, right? And now you do understand, though, that there are certain meetings and certain subjects that you have to be there in person. The quasi-judicial stuff, which is most of your land use issues, sorry, but you have to be there in person. Not that we have ever been subject to, cross-examination or, no, nobody's ever cross-examined us even when we showed up.
It's in your procedures.
Why can't
Yeah.
we use our iPad when we're?
You mean like show your face on your iPad?
No, when we're up there on quasi-judicial thing, and instead of having to send stuff to the county.
You're talking about evidence that you present because it has to be evidence that you present. Yeah, it's just, in the land use things, it's like being on trial, okay? And we're sitting as the judge and jury on the commission, and each side gets to present their pros and cons. Some get to present probably a little bit more than we get to present.
Let everybody know about the time limits for speaking.
Oh, well, that's another good thing that we changed. You used to only get 3 minutes to make your point, okay? And one of the things we changed is during the quasi-judicial process, you get 5 minutes instead of 3 minutes. Woo-hoo.
And representing a group.
It is the same as if you're with the represented group, you get your 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just 10 minutes. And that only applies, it doesn't apply to future agenda items. That only applies to specific agenda items.
Yes, a letter, have a letter. Signed by
Right, and you have to have a note from your mother, and yes, all that to do it. Okay. Did we want to do anything else on the map? Because y'all are going to take that home and play with it, right? So the next time that you ask me a question about what's going on in this cow pasture, or why are they cleaning all these trees, you're going to work with me to learn how to do that yourself, right?
You could pull up an agenda.
I can do what?
Just pull up an agenda, show them.
An agenda? Nah, if you guys want me to, I will, but I was just going to open it up the question and answer and see if anybody's got anything that you need. One?
I have a question.
No, you just wait. I gotta move you back. This one too. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
And your name was?
Barbara Stiglin. And
Yes.
Yes.
I recognize
I live down in the Haymarket a couple years ago. I live on water, so I'm not out in Myakka, but condolences to those who are expecting to have development because our horse farm was engulfed by 500 houses. And I'm wondering what's being done for the after the fact, because since these 500 houses went in, our farm floods on a normal afternoon rain. Not Debbie, not, I think they, Debbie was, no, I'm not talking Debbie. And
Are you near Sand
Coddington. Coddington surrounds me.
Okay.
And there's also a new drainage pipe that, I have a creek that bisects my property that's,
Let's look at your property.
okay, it's just a little creek, but Coddington has run a drainage pipe into my creek.
Okay.
So it just went, and then it goes over, and I've had to evacuate.
Are you all familiar with that area?
Well, we're on Rye Road, we're experiencing the same thing. Our 22 acres has become the drainage ditch for all of Manatee County.
And
now,
Upper Manatee River Road.
with all the development.
Yeah.
We're flooded all the time.
And the last 2 days of rain we flooded.
Yeah.
Just the last couple days of rain. It's insane.
Flooded so much so that when they were replacing the telephone poles, they couldn't even get equipment in there because it's underwater
Feet of water.
with just a regular
And
rainstorm.
it's not even raining season.
Are you familiar with Mark Andrew and Waterline Road?
Yes,
Association?
yes, yes.
They, Mark's one of my go-to guys with that.
Right, actually, you referred me him at the
Yeah, so with a lot of the issues that y'all are having, the best thing to do is to get your communities together. One of the things that, again, the challenge with District 1 being so huge, um, and again, this was the goal of the Citizens Academy. The Citizens Academy was supposed to produce citizen ambassadors. And I'm going to need that more than any other commissioner because of the wide area that I have to represent and the number of issues that we have. So one of my ideas for that was going with anybody familiar with CERT, what a CERT team is? That's Community Emergency, there you go, Larry. Our Community Emergency Response Teams. And the reason I like the idea of using these is because those of you in Myakka know that we used to have a community emergency response team in Myakka. I think Danny Cacciati was in on it, and it was very reactive to, if there's a hurricane, we're all heroes, right? But then when things get boring, we kind of forget about it. So I was hoping that we could reactivate our CERT teams by quadrants, okay? Limited area, because again, when you're this spread out, one of the things we did during the last hurricane was we dispersed our points of distribution because it didn't make any sense to have everybody in District 1 going to get their water and tarps at Rocky Bluff, right? So we spread it out. We had the community center here. We had Verna Bethany Baptist Church. We had the DeWitt Fire Department participating. And what I'd like to start doing, and what we're looking for, is those citizen ambassadors, is people willing to recreate these CERT teams to kind of map them out. In parish, your HOAs are kind of like uh, but at least it gives us a segments of communities and things like that. Um, but not to only use those teams as our community emergency response teams, but to make them community education response teams too. So I can't keep an eye out when all I was doing was running around fussing at the county commissioners, and I wasn't one. I had time to know pretty much everybody, every red dot on this map. I don't have that time anymore, and I need you guys to be my eyes and ears on everything out there. Because even our county itself, it's just like you can't have an OSHA agent at every work site, right? We can't have code enforcement at every work site out there. Okay, we need to be the eyes and ears. And just like what you're saying, I've been, poor Evan Pilachowski gets it from me every single day. And he is really trying, but he's got a lot of challenges. We all know what was up there with Palm Grove was coming with Taylor Ranch. That water's been in those ditches along 64 for 3 years. It's not exactly working the way it's supposed to work.
There's too many little conversations going on.
I know, it kind of echoes in the room. Imagine 50 kids in here.
To get plans there, District 1, not too far from this place on the Rye Road, and 39-year resident. And, I know we talk about the floodings and Debbie and Milton and Aline, but the can that's been kicked down the street in the county for these years is a lack of maintenance.
Right.
And you, as being our representative of District 1, and I know there's several others, like McCain, who speaks very great about the stormwater. And I'm concerned, because I lived off the Rod Road, just up the road from the water line, and last year we had 2 feet of water before the emergency dam releases were occurring. So I have been emailing stormwater staff that I know, and I haven't seen a lot of work being done to clean out the ditches, to be honest with you. I mean, there are shopping carts and Publix in these ditches, tires, tree limbs, that's all
I can show
preventing
you,
the
most
water.
of my emails are talking about
So-
standing water, moving water, when are we getting these ditches?
It really needs to be priority one, because we're now 3 months away from June 1st. And these individuals, and I, like the 39 years, The center of Lake debacle, my wife and I had to evacuate that in 1988. We had to evacuate that in 1992. And then we finally moved out on our road. And we knew the lay of the land, being real close to the dam. We never had any problems until last year in 2024. So what she's experienced on her farmlands, and probably everybody else, is what's occurring of a lack of maintenance and a lack of that vision. And it's not your fault because of a lot of bad planning in the past. But we need to stop kicking the can down the streets and get the equipment in the ditches and clean them up.
So can I just address? So this is my property, and the creek runs along here and it goes down here. I put on waders and walk that creek. And I'm here to tell you, although I bug the county and they come in and spray when I ask them, although they tell me they come every 3 months, I have pictures to prove they don't. When you get past my neighbor's property down in here, it's completely blocked. I mean, it's silted in, there's trees, and the county has told me that they can't go in and clean it out because it's on private property. But if it's causing potential loss of property, or like my brother-in-law is an environmental lawyer with a minor in wastewater management here in Florida. So they can go in and they can clear it out. Because it's just backing up on all of us. I mean, we
We're
have.
doing an emergency event. We have. They have permission to do that.
Right, exactly. It could have been done after that. And since the storm last year, the quote, we're on the every 2-month maintenance, nobody's been to my creek. And they have my authority to come on and do it. So if they're not doing it and I'm asking them, you know nothing's getting done downstream. So I mean, I think this is an easy fix. And okay. But also I want to point out, Carol, that right here where my stream goes under the road, Connington has run a pipe underneath and is dumping drainage into my stream.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Now,
And it's nicely hidden until you put on the waders.
They've gotten sneaky lately.
I'm just,
poof, magic wand. No.
no, I don't, and I had the previous board, so I had all.
Thank
the-
you all, because as I said, for that water has been in those ditches off of 64 for longer than even Pelichowski's lived in Manatee County or worked for Manatee County.
Right.
Sometimes it takes a field visit,
So did
face down.
Fort Bridge, that was gonna be the biggest park in the county at some point, they have brought in dirt, and they keep building that up. It's like, I'm sure that is gonna, I mean, our development is right there. So,
That's where the subbase of the new road going in. That's what Charlie Haas said. That's all that there's going to be a subbase of the new road going in. I've heard him say that.
Well, but there's a park line.
Yeah, correct. I know what you're talking about. I mean, I live on Manatee Rise, so I know what you're talking about.
But Fort Haven flooded last year, and now they filled it up even more.
Right.
For more rain.
Yesterday I spoke to someone from stormwater management because our property is just at the corner of Upper Manatee River Road and Rye Road. We had 13 feet of water on 13 acres of our property after Debbie. The ditches on Upper Manatee River Road, they're not graded for water to go to the culvert that runs under Upper Manatee River Road by the Rye Road interchange there. No one came out after Debbie and Milton and Helene to clean those ditches. I had to call to help the power company because they wanted to come on our property with 30,000-pound trucks. Our pastures could not support, and the little culverts we have within our pastures could not support the weight of those trucks for them to install power poles for the residents of Manatee County. They finally came out to clean the ditch, and the person on the phone told me it's been 10 years, he believes, since that ditch has been cleaned out, opening up the culvert for all of the water off of Rye Road and Upper Manatee in that area to go to the river. And I mean, there were 3 vehicles stranded under 13 feet of water there during Debbie. It was the photo on multiple news pages, and it was not addressed even after 3 vehicles were stranded under 13 feet of water. And it's to the point where it happens every rainstorm now that we are considering driving a pipe in the ground with feet markers so that drivers know how deep it actually is there, so they don't also get stranded.
We are at the point where we at least have some attention being paid to this. If you paid any attention to our stormwater work sessions, the problem that we have is money, okay? We need X dollars to do all of our topography studies, our water flow studies, our watershed studies. All of this costs money. Then, even if we have enough money to do the studies, then we have to have the money to what are we going to do about it. And a few years ago, Sarasota County has gone in and out of having a separate stormwater department, and it included with utilities. We had an opportunity a few years ago to vote in a stormwater fee. And we decided we didn't want to pay that stormwater fee. But I think what our issue was, not the fee, but the way that it was calculated. Because what we were ending up with is that people that live like we do on 10 acres of land with a house and 2 barns, it was counting by rooftops, and we were paying just as much for that fee as somebody with a McMansion on a paved road with a sidewalk somewhere else, where we really needed to work with that ratio between pervious and impervious surfaces. So we're going to have to pay for it.
Why can't the developers contribute to paying for
They
it?
will be in some way, shape, or form. I mean, you could have what is it, the facility investment fees. That's what they were talking about doing. That was going to pay for the sewer and water past the FDAP, according to the 2.1.2.8. But we didn't get around to it. Be with the last regime. We're looking at our impact fees, but they won't go into effect probably until 2026. I think you're seeing a little bit of the developers are, listen, guys, business is business. And I don't want to, I know everybody's evil, 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 but come on, we can't villainize people. That's not going to get us anywhere. And we have, they're beginning to see, too, Rex Jensen did his own stormwater studies in Lakewood Ranch area. He identified places. He said, I fixed what was mine. Manatee County, you need to fix what was yours. I don't know why. There were 2 places that were identified. One was the T, the 10th T at River Club, and the silt under the bridge. We've known about that since November of last year. Why nobody has gone over there and done anything about it it's because we're debating whether that was the problem, that wasn't the problem. Well, let's go over there, unplug the river, and remove the silt and see if that's the case. Yes, Heidi.
So right here is off of Gopher Hill and 274th, and they're on 6 acres. They, for their 8 years, they have asked the county many times to come out and dig out the ditches. They have not. And then this last Debbie, their property is kind of like a flag pond. My dad called, put in a request for the county. No one came out, and my dad got a message on his phone because he was at work, and it said they'd come, they dug out the ditches, and the case was closed out. They never showed up.
Yep. We just had a call from Jennings Road the other day. And now when you call in, we could log a service order or a 311 request for you. And then when we do it, we have a way of kind of like following it up, but they'll also give me a report on all the 311 311 requests or service requests. And right now, I get more from the water billing for the people who have county water. That's a biggie right now. Out here in Myakka, it's the ditch issue. And to tell you the truth, because of how we tend to do things out here, a lot of people have been maintaining their own property, maintaining their own ditches for a while. And I think maybe that might have spoiled the county to say, if you leave them alone in Myakka long enough, they'll do it themselves.
But they're doing that all over the place.
Yeah. Listen, if I hear one more word, I'm going to go over there and get that silt out from underneath that bridge at River Club because it's not going to be done.
at this stage saying, I've done many through my work, and I can tell you for a fact, Public Works, traffic management, a sign down, within 24 hours, it's fixed, signs up, it's done. Pothole on a blacktop road, within 24 hours, pothole's full.
But
The ditches are causing our bitches.
hard work, hard work. You need special, there's a lot of special equipment out there that the county doesn't have, and they aren't gonna buy because they only use it periodically.
I got a picture of 4 vehicles at the county wall. It's got 4 wheels, it's got little things that can creepy crawl through these ditches. I haven't seen one in any ditch in the areas that we're talking about.
Because they're so expensive to repair. They're a very delicate piece of machinery for doing that kind of work. And when they break, they're gonna be out of service for a year anyway, so that's why they don't use them.
I mean, somebody had put on putting a goddamn veterans memorial way up in North County, but we use that money to fix our ditches first.
My name's Mark Luke, and I live down the road here on Chilton Road. I have a question. I was reading in the Observer that Commissioner Cruz wanted to do away with in the new comprehensive plan, minimum lot sizes for non-conforming lots.
Let me clarify that, because when we say minimum lot size out here in Myakka, I'm sure y'all are, what? Right? And we don't have any minimum lot sizes. Basically, what Commissioner Cruz was talking about was that if we're talking about infill lots, in other words, there's a lot of property on that side of the FDAC that still has development potential. Some of it's even surplus county property that we own that we aren't doing anything with. Talk to Glenn Gibolita about that, and using the surplus property. One of the reasons that we are not making use of it is because we have minimum lot sizes under, like if it's Res 3, Res 9, that kind of thing, that there are other specifics to that zoning that don't allow you to do something on a quarter-acre lot. So it might be zoned for a certain thing, and then within that zoning, it requires a quarter acre for a house or whatever. And we have all these odd little lots. That's what he was talking about, that minimum.
What I was wondering about, because out here it's 5 acres, but there's a lot of lots that have split off where they could be 3 acres. And he was talking also about the tiny houses. So in what I read, the setbacks could be met, but I said 400 some foot off the road, and I don't want to see a garden shed next to me in the front lawn next door on a piece that should not be built on.
Right. So there are ways that the majority of the land out this part of District 1 is zoned ag or A1. Okay, the minimum is like 1 house per 1 acre. There's a few pockets of exceptions. Golden Burnham would be one. This is another one. I think Panther Ridge might have a few of the smaller lot sizes over there. So what can we do if we want to come up with our own minimum lot size is pretty much what you're saying, right? Well, different ways that you could go about doing that. We are always having to be mindful of personal property rights. If I own 500 acres and I want to divide it into 5-acre parcels or 1-acre parcels or quarter-acre parcels, that's all going to be up to going to the county commission, presenting the pros of my plan, how it benefits the public good. There's people clamoring for houses, right? So I'm a great guy because I want to put in 5,000 houses on 5,000 acres of land or on 2,000 acres of land or whatever. But there are ways that we can have more of a say in our community status, okay? Another thing about District 1 is we're the only district that is all county. We have no municipalities. We have the village of Myakka. We have the village of Parish. We have, I think they call it the community of Duet, but we have no incorporated cities. So that's great because then we only have to deal with the county when we're trying to establish our communities. One of the things that I'm trying to do, I'm sure you're all familiar with the North Central Overlay. Okay, so the North Central overlay was just a conceptual idea of how we wanted, I think it was originally 71,000 acres. And that was kind of, what would that be? It would be northwest of us. Mostly Parish, Ellington, Duet type of area over there. And it wasn't anything that harsh. It just gave like your setbacks, your native vegetation, your motif of your buildings and things like that. But as it began to get whittled away with exceptions, okay, they basically said, well, we're not using the North Central overlay anyway. And really, by the time that it got to the end of its existence, there was maybe only 5,000 sporadic acres around that were still applicable to that. So they said, well, we're not paying attention to the North Central overlay anyway, so we'll just ban it. So I kind of wish that they would, if you've got a slightly unused North Central overlay, we could probably use it over here and establish something that gives other parts of District 1 um, a concept of community and a standard for how we want our community to work in the future.
And my question is, we have out here now currently 5 acre zoning, and a lot of the lots are 7, 8, 11, all the numbers due to the way they were subdivided. They're not going to change the 5 acre zoning.
You can do it if you're 5 acres and you
But I'm
want
just
to.
saying, the county, they're not going to
So
rezone.
the county doesn't arbitrarily just go out and say, we're going to change this from, it takes an impetus of somebody requesting that. Now, the county does establish its comprehensive plan. They do establish the land development code. But as far as we don't proactively decide, now we might, an instance where we might do something is like with the environmental lands purchase, okay? So we just did a purchase on, I guess it used to be called Anson Acres. Now it's called Triple Oaks across from the dairy. So we would do a zoning change to change it from ag to conservation.
Here, for instance, I say you have an 8 acre lot, okay? Zone here's 5 acres. You got 8, you can't build 2 houses. But if this is where you don't have a minimum lot size, I can subdivide my property. I'll have a 5 acre lot, which is confined, and then I can put this tiny house in the front. So that's why.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
But it wouldn't apply now. Unless you had a zoning variance.
Well, actually, there are 1,000 ways to skin a cat with that, okay? We have ADUs, we have resort cottages, we have mother-in-law cottages. There's a lot you could be, actually right now, they're kind of allowing us to have RVs on our properties because of the hurricane, if you're offering, yeah, if you're offering a respite to somebody who's lost their thing. So yeah, remember, it's private property rights.
But they're all listed in the zoning ordinance.
Right, but you could, that doesn't mean that somebody can't ask for it to be changed.
Right.
That's what all this is about. You know, you might come up with a great idea.
Lot size, this adds another concept to it. Somebody could say, I have this lot, I can just build a house on it. There won't be those restrictions in the zoning ordinance.
Well, an interesting thing is that, as I said, the state of Florida basically was a swamp from Disney World down to Miami, okay? So we had to drain the swamp at some place to do anything. And at one point when Florida was kind of being platted out, and they came up with a concept of what was I don't know any other way to explain this except using the horse sense. If you had a horse up in, I don't know, North Carolina or whatever it is, you could probably feed a horse off of 2 acres of land, right? But in Florida, we kind of look at like one horse per 5 acres because of the different qualities of land and things like that. So years ago, for some scientific environmental engineering type of thing, they pretty much came up that a 1/4 acre of land was what was necessary in Florida to provide sustenance for a family of four, and enough water, and enough drainage, and enough room for their septic tank and dissipation and all that kind of stuff. Well, we get more people, and we hope that technology has given us the ability to get more out of that quarter acre than just subsistence for a family of four. But we're still adding unevenness about that. You know what I mean? You can keep trying to pack, 10 pounds of potatoes or oranges in a 5-pound sack, but sooner or later, someone's going to give somewhere else. So you have private property rights, you have current zoning, you have future land use, which is just their conceptual later on. But remember, you're an American citizen. If you want to go and you want to put in a request to subdivide your property and put in a mother-in-law house or anything like that, it never hurts to ask.
I mean, it's all listed. I'm saying is you could end up with a cluster of homes on a piece of property next to somebody that has a nice piece of property that they've maintained it for years.
Actually, Escambia County didn't even have any zoning at all. So you could end up with a McMansion next to a goat farm and a junkyard.
Well, certainly 10 acres out here, then you reduce it.
Right.
I mean, which is standard, but now you're reducing it. If you don't have any minimum lot sizes, people keep subdividing a little lot down, you could end up with 5 houses on an acre.
Well, think about it this way, though. That is kind of a more natural way that a community tends to develop, right?
Well, it depends on how you live. I live on 16 acres. I don't want to cluster houses in front of me on a farm.
Right, but I mean, if you're a farmer and you've got hundreds and hundreds of acres of land, and you might leave a couple hundred acres for each kid, they build their house, and that's pretty much how communities tend to form.
If you have a lot that's like 8 acres next to you, and they do this kind of stuff, you might have your home on like 16 acres, and you got 20 homes next to you because they subdivided this one lot out 10 times.
That's where we work as a community and being a good neighbor. But you still have to remember that private property rights is what it does protect us. Did you?
I know what he's talking about. I'm a realtor out here, Bar Ransom for years. And you have to have, for A zone or your A1, or your village, like your land. It needs probably A. You have to have 5 acres, you have to have 4 acres above this. You can only have 1 acre above. But you have to have a conforming building. You can subdivide it all day long into a pure one.
But just because you subdivide it,
but how did they change that comprehensive plan over there of A zoning? I think it's probably, if they can do it over there, probably they might do it over here. Because over there, the comprehensive 50-year plan was A, 105 acres, you have to have 200 feet of frontage.
Right.
You gotta have 5.01 acres. But how did they change 3 homes to an acre over there on ag zoning, and we don't want it to happen over here? How did they do that?
Well, because we didn't pay attention. We didn't pay attention. Tell you what, we've watched it happen time and time again with trying to fight these things. We show up, we get people excited, it gets turned down by the planning commission, we lose half the people. It goes to the Board of County Commissioners, it gets passed. We lose another half the people because they've given up. Doesn't stop there. They come back and they ask for increased density every single time. And we have nobody left because everybody's given up. We've got the 675 and 70. We got 7 roundabouts coming down 70. So they were going to do a roundabout at 675. I'm sure you're familiar with the concessions. Panther Ridge fought the expansion of the concessions. And they did pretty good. But what happens is it's a very long, involved thing. You've got to be as much into it as that guy who wants to do that. And then you have to remember that one day you might be that guy that wants to do that. So you've got to make it a fair and equitable way of doing it. I think we have seen a little bit more of the, I don't want to use favoritism or bias, but we're coming back around with that. That's why we're doing things like reversing the wetlands and making them have mandatory meetings. But you guys got to do your part and stick with it. And this is why I'd like to see you get into smaller segments so we can all keep our eyes on the things.
This minimum, you do away with the minimum lot size, it's worse than wetlands. Because there's
It does confuse it because it's not the same application about the minimum lot.
But it adds more houses to smaller areas.
Yeah, but it's really more applicable to your inland building.
Yeah, it can be done here. If you do this, it can be done here. No place to develop properties. So I can fly go around here and buy all day to do this. And then I'll have somebody living next to me on 20 acres on a nice horse farm. The next thing you know, I got 16 houses built in front yard because there's no minimum lot size. That is the first
Somebody's
thing.
gonna come up with the borderline on something. I mean, I'm across the street from East River Ranch.
But I'm saying, this is
That's what I can
the
do.
fundamental principle of zoning. This protects the single-family residential home.
That's where we get into writing the comp plan, writing a solid comp plan, and making very sure that our land development code, here's some of the things that I'd like to see in our land development code. Number one is a limited amount of land that can be rezoned per year. Because you can't keep up with it, okay?
You
A
don't need
limited
to
amount of agricultural.
This is as of right if you do this. This is as of right. I can go out here and buy a Cincinnati lot, and there's no minimum lot size, as long as I can meet the setbacks, which out here are minimal, I can put as many houses as I can fit on that lot. This would destroy this area.
Well, that's what we've got to do to save it. One thing that I've talked about is getting in an overlay, which isn't really strict, but gives us some sort of an idea, because that will allow to cover a larger area with a.
Why don't you just leave it the way it is, go to the zoning board and ask for variance for your conditions that you have on
Because
this is just a
because that's what I said. You're going into an unequal situation. Well, it's going into a quasi-judicial system where you don't have a lawyer unless you hire a lawyer. You aren't on any. If I went and robbed a bank and I was an indigent, I would get a court-appointed lawyer to defend me, right? You go into a quasi-judicial situation, you're up against
But
a lot.
this is what protects us out here, is this. That people that really want this have to go through the requirements to get it. If you do it where it's easy, you'll have developers like Toll Brothers and everybody running through here.
There's already my car and.
That's not a dispute. That doesn't help us. We're fine the way we are now. By opening this up,
You've got to make sure that the comprehensive plan and the land development code that we are creating right now has those covenants in it. And the only way you're going to have those covenants is if you have things like an overlay. You might even need, I think one of the things that we were talking about was special districting. Special districting can't say we only allow 5-acre homes here. Special districting can't say this is an agritourism area. There's going to be animals and whatever's going on out there. But we've got to be as proactive of doing that.
that's fine. You do that, you're fine, because you're back to where we were. But the other thing, just to let it go free, would be a disaster for this whole county.
I watched the meeting and George, he said that, and he went back and put in specific areas where he said, on the west side, basically at the F down, where he would want minimum lot sizes. So I think he was kind of backtracking to try to make it more specific of where they would work minimum lot sizes, so maybe they would do the land development code.
Betty has a neighbor. Betty, tell about your neighbor. I live in Palmetto Park, Gopher Hill Road. Straight across the road, the gentleman owned 10 acres. He sold off over 6 point something behind him. Okay, so now his property had less than 5 acres that he settled. And I was curious what was going to happen. Sure enough, he sold that piece of property and he got away with it.
But wait, they put a little trailer house, I mean, a little itty bitty trailer house on it.
A trailer on it. And the people who bought the property put a home behind it. I mean, how do you do that? It's less than 5 acres. My bylaws say you have to have 5 acres or more for a dwelling.
You got a house and a trailer on it?
No, the trailer's on
The trailers on the, at the time, it would have been 10 acres. But when he subdivided it, he took less than 5 acres. It's documented, so the people behind him have 6 point something, and he has less than 5 acres. And it went through, and I'm sure they didn't apply for anything.
You might qualify as an ADU, it might qualify on 5 acres, you could have a mother-in-law's house on 5 acres.
It's not a mother, it's a trailer house, it's less than 5 acres.
It's a single
Now, you can have two dwellings.
Well, it was subdivided, the one was subdivided for 6 whatever acres, this was 4 whatever acres.
He sold it off.
He sold them separately, and then the 4 whatever, they didn't put a
Yeah,
trailer house.
yeah, that's not that great a variance that he would have been granted somewhere.
Just what I
Just one comment regarding land use, because certain issues at commissioner meetings, you must be there in person, and land use is one of those.
It's quasi-judicial, mostly all of your land use procedures are
Yes.
quasi-judicial.
They usually do run to the end, and even if people do get a lot of support against a developer or something, a lot of people can't give an entire
What
day.
I always suggest anyone to do, if you're dealing with a situation, get your community involved.
And get a lawyer.
And get a lawyer.
Because the developers, they have
That's what I'm trying to
attorneys on
say.
retainer, and they can do it.
That's what I'm trying to say.
The average person doesn't have the ability to hire an attorney
It's
to
your,
protect their land.
it's like Panther Ridge. When they came together, they got an attorney and they have someone who's actually doing that work.
But that's Panther Ridge.
I'm just
If
saying,
you own 22 acres and you're the only person, and you have 900 acres going to be developed behind you, am I expected to have an attorney that can go up against the DR court attorneys?
That's what they are there. You've got to look for someone who's willing to work with you. And that's with anything. You might find law students. You could go to like Farmland Trust, some of the organizations that are working to keep our agricultural lands, and ask them for help. That's the best way I would say, is to get involved in a larger group outside of our local facilities. Like, if I wanted to get a land use lawyer because I wanted to sell my property to Publix, I couldn't afford to do that on that end either, right? Or a Bass Pro Shop. But you've got to kind of stretch yourselves into, it's very hard to get a local lawyer that isn't already involved in this. So then if you go outside, then you have people who are not familiar with our things. But there are a lot of adjunct national and statewide forces that will, but you've got to find them and you've got to work with them. And then when they help you, you've got to go out and help others. But we're really hoping, this is the end game though, we're really hoping that with these mandatory meetings, with our developers also deciding that they would rather work with the new board than against it. I think you're really seeing some of that now, because nobody has a choice anymore. Nobody has a choice anymore. It's that we've all got to work together on this. We don't have a choice anymore. So we're trying to work out so that you guys are informed consumers and that we can present things in a situation where we're all working to have that community together. It's all on water, okay? Pat Neal does not want to build houses that are not going to have water and aren't going to be wonderful homes, okay? So it's all in our best interest. We just might have gotten a little bit carried away with ourselves. And you're going to have to ask yourselves that what are you willing to sacrifice to get this done too? Because this is going to take money. My favorite thing going on in the country right now is the Department of Government Efficiency. We definitely need that in Manatee County. And that's when you guys got to start saying, you know what, we can do without that, okay? we could do without this, we could do without that, because this is what we want. We've got to focus on our priorities. You know, remember during COVID where we went to completely our essential things? We really got to show the county government that we care enough about things to make some sacrifices ourselves. I'm not saying it always takes to pay more in taxes. God, no, don't give them any more money. Don't do that. But we're going to be willing to let it be managed.
Observation and a question, and I'll make sure I'm going to right over question, is a lot of the issues that we've talked about here have to do with money and where do you find the money to, and equipment obviously to do the ditch clearing, or do you find the money to deal with the roads and the traffic. And I think those are all valid issues. I don't think, based on what I've heard, that we even at this point have a handle on how much money we need.
983 million.
You know, I mean.
983 million. 983 million.
Okay, well, and so then the question would be, which I heard discussed at some of the meetings, is do we look at this big terrible moratorium concept until we figure out how much money and how, you know, basically, you know, it sounds terrible, and I've heard various commissioners express it, and I'm going to make an observation. I've dealt with Mr. Jensen in another way. He's very bright. He's very successful. He's not used to anybody standing up to him. And I thought if he was quoted accurately, some of the things that he said about Commissioner McCann were absolutely appropriate. The drainage issues that folks here have and that I see, and like the cars underwater, didn't occur on Commissioner McCann's watch. Didn't occur on your watch. And so I guess what I'm really asking is that concept of a moratorium dead now? And I'll make an observation. I heard Mr. Jensen say, I don't want to deal with a moratorium. Well, if I'm on the other side of it, and I'm a Doge person or a Donald Trump person, I'm going, well, if he doesn't like it, maybe that's a way to get him and Mr. Neal and Mr. Bayou and Mr. Benderson and others to be more reasonable and maybe share a little bit more of what they've been doing. So, and again, I'm not saying we should do it, but I'm not saying we should either.
Listen, I would love nothing more.
So yeah, I want to get your thoughts.
Stop the world so I can get off, okay? Because the hardest thing we have is that we've got to do these studies. We've got to see where are we at right now. And it's very hard to do that when the world keeps spinning around. So if they can figure out a way to perform these studies, and if our developers will give us the time to come up with the right plan so that I can say, sure, let's vote yes for that final flag.
I understand.
But it's, and I think you're probably seeing some signs that is going to happen. Maybe we start negotiating with we're looking at things we're going to do. We're looking at those impact fees. The public wants to take those impact fees to 100% and have a building moratorium, right? So we are in the middle of a point to come to the great compromise. So remember that if we end up making everybody a little upset, we might have done the right thing.
Right, and I thought I heard the conversations right where we're not talking a countywide moratorium. We're talking, what I thought I heard was District 1 and District 5 potentially. And my observation is then if you do that and you go back to issues like
we could get it even further down. We could get it into a watershed area. In a watershed area, we could say nothing more in this watershed area until we finish that watershed study. We could say nothing more in these areas that are being, until we finish the capital improvement projects that are going on.
Or even areas, where, and again, again, you weren't sitting there, but when there were drainage problems last storm season, now we're 3 months from storm season, there was going to be a study. And I don't ever remember that ever coming to fruition. Now, I know Mr. Jensen did some work in Lakewood Ranch, but I don't know.
He did his own study.
But I don't know that the county, I don't know that the county.
What our problem was, and now we're in the Mexican standoff as far as was that right, was that wrong? But has anybody just walked over there, cleaned out the silt on the ditch and fixed the penalty?
So all I'm saying, I think from just one person's perspective, I think the moratorium conversation, I personally would keep that on the front burner because that is going to be some leverage. Mr. Jensen already slipped and let you know that when he made his comments. If he doesn't like it,
well,
then, and again,
we always have the right to vote, thank God. We have the right to vote no.
Yep.
And we also have the issue of timing, that we have a completely valid issue to, if we have to say no, that's how God works sometimes. He says, not no, but not yet.
Yep.
And I think we've got to keep that pressure on. You guys keep the pressure on me. If I don't get the job done, we got 3 years from now, you could actually
So we are at 3:45. If you have any more communications, please send them to us via email. I know a couple of you had asked to speak with the commissioner directly after. She has about 5 minutes, but we're going to end this meeting now. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming.
I'm going to be outside, because I need fresh air.
And last